Thank you, Nicholas. It gives me great pleasure now to introduce SVA's President, David Rhodes.
Good afternoon. Members of the board, honored guests, faculty, administration, parents, families, and most of all, soon-to-be graduates. I would like to welcome you to SVA's 48th formal commencement exercises held in the honor of the class of 2023. You come to SVA from 33 states, Puerto Rico, and 40 countries. Thank you for being here today. It is good to see you and to see the sea of red regalia. And for those of you following the live stream, thank you for joining us. During the last few weeks at SVA, there have been open studios, end-of-year shows, thesis presentations, and thesis defenses of the work of the class of 2023. By all accounts, the work looks good, wonderful, and more importantly, those examining the work agree you have acquitted yourself proudly. You have acquitted yourselves with distinction, especially given the disruptions caused by the pandemic. It would appear that your futures as artists, teachers, and writers will be challenging but rewarding. The emergence of ChatGPT and various generative artificial intelligence platforms, such as DALL-E and Midjourney, has engendered a substantial conversation about the consequences of these powerful tools in the last year. Although there have been some thoughtful responses to the consequences of these emerging technologies, much of the discussion, it seems to me, has been more apocalyptic than enlightening. For example, Elon Musk has predicted the non-trivial possibility of civilization destruction as he continues to invest in the technologies and prepares to leave for Mars. Others are predicting entire professions will be replaced by AI. Perhaps one of the great ironies is that programmers may be replaced by AI. There is concern by some that your professions may be affected. No doubt they will, but none of us knows how yet. Just as the introduction of computers, particularly the introduction of the original Macintosh and the smartphone, have changed the way we all work, it's taken from 1984 until now for the technology to become ubiquitous. I think it is reasonable to assume that it will take AI some time before it is everywhere, and in that time, we will be able to bend the technology to fit our needs rather than have the technology dictate to us. That seems a reasonable possibility given the history of automation from the beginning of the Industrial Revolution to now. Although some jobs disappeared, they were replaced by others. The greatest displacement in the United States, for example, were farmers, who were a majority of the population at the time of the Civil War, and now are less than 2% of the population. What I think we do need to be concerned about is how these technologies will be regulated from an economic perspective. Will we continue the past practice of having the gains of the technologies going to the few, or will the benefits be spread more widely and more equitably? These are, of course, political questions, so these are decisions in which we all must participate. A reason for optimism about the economics is that all of these tools have been trained using resources scraped from the internet. although it's not possible to track specific words and images to the output that AI generates from prompts, we know that collectively it's using resources that might be called the Internet Commons. These resources, at first approximation, belong to all of us, in much the same way that the proceeds of Norwegian and Alaskan oil are held in trust for the common good of the citizens of Norway and Alaska. But there's another reason for optimism. Almost by definition, AI has the average intelligence of the Internet. The economic historian who made that quip, Bradford DeLong, did not mean it as a compliment. Thus, there is room for well-earned expertise, the kind of expertise you have all earned as you made your way through SVA. There is just no substitute for what you know, what you have gained through your interactions with faculty and peers. In the world in which we actually live, AI cannot replace those connections, nor can it replace your physical presence, your ability to do what inspires you, nor your willingness to feel compassion, and your dedication to ethical behavior, something which AI seems incapable of. As others have noticed, when pressed, AI will hallucinate, which is a euphemism for make stuff up. You know, what politicians do when they talk on TV. And they will assert it with certainty. When people do the same thing, we call them out and no longer trust their pronouncements without skepticism. And it is with skepticism that we should approach AI, but approach it we must. Let me close by offering you my congratulations again on your graduation and the work that it took to make that achievement a reality, and with 3 suggestions. Whenever you can, help one another. Always be kind to one another. And finally, be kind to yourself. Congratulations yet again. Thank you.